we're used to getting them things, right? And being their parent, going somewhere, doing stuff, they want to go to the movies, like all these things that we want to do too, because we love spending time with them. And choosing when we should say, you buy versus we buy has been probably our bigger challenge. And I don't think we're putting enough on them to have them feel the strain, right? Because one, for a little kid, I don't think like $20 is a crazy amount of money for the month, and they're not spending it all, right? So I either reduce their allowance or we
Right.
got to change, what their responsibility is, and we haven't found that groove yet.
So I think that takes a bit of time, Robbie, and you are, pretty new, so I would just like
Yeah,
give yourself some patience and grace and know that that will come. I think, for us, it's say Starbucks, for example. Cassidy would love to have Starbucks every day. I don't. If we're on a road trip and we're like, we're getting Starbucks as a family, what does everyone want? Okay, we buy that. But if she's like, hey, I want Starbucks today, can you take me or can I walk there? It's like, okay, that's when you're going to spend your own money because that's not something
yeah,
that like we need. I don't want it. I didn't offer it. Same thing with John. Yeah, like if we're all grabbing lunch and he wants a meatball sub,
yeah.
of course I'm going to buy him the meatball
Yeah.
sub. But if it's a Wednesday after school and I'm like, hey, I'll make you a grilled cheese or a quesadilla or a bagel. What do you want for a snack? And he says, I really want a meatball sub. It's like, you got to spend your own money. We're home. We have tons of food here. If that's
Hmm.
your deal, that's your deal. So that's me kind of how I manage that. But I'll also just tell you about something that happened yesterday. Cassidy loves shopping and spending. And in the past, it was always like, well, can you buy me this? Can you buy me that? Right now, she knows very clearly there's like certain things for school I will buy her. She needed a new pair of Birkenstock ish shoes. I won't pay for Birkenstocks for her, but I'll buy her like some knockoffs. I had already told her. So yesterday we go shopping and she's looking at some things and looking at some things. She goes, shops around, and she found two things she wanted. They weren't part of what we had already discussed that I would buy. And she just marches right up to the counter. She hands them the stuff. She hands them the debit card and she buys it. She
That's
walks out with her
awesome.
bag. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Right.
wow, she didn't ask me for anything in the store because she
That's
knew.
amazing.
And then we go to another store. She sees some Birkenstocks. She says, Mom, they have the shoes. They're only $30. And she didn't have to ask me, will you buy them? Will you not? We'd already talked about it. I grab them, I pay for them. And that's kind of how we went through the rest of the day. The only things I bought were those Birkenstocks and maybe, you know, actually, that was it. I think that was literally the only thing that I bought for her. And she bought herself 4 or 5 different little things.
Hmm.
And there was just an
Yeah,
understanding.
that's
Like,
amazing.
this is what you
Yeah,
buy.
yeah.
This is what I
It's
buy.
really cool.
It was awesome.
A lot of times it really comes down to the want
Yeah,
versus need. Like you really want to try and have them pay for. I'm not going to say everything that they want they should pay for, but 90% should be if they want it, they pay for it. If they need it, then that's you paying for it
yeah,
100% of the time is basically the delineation. The exceptions to that would be certainly if you're all doing something together, like you don't all need to go bowling, but you Robbie or you Carla, the two of you want to take everybody bowling. That's a desire for you, then absolutely do that. But when you're at the bowling alley and they want to play the claw or they want to go to the arcade or whatever, if that's not something that you would normally do, then I would say, oh, you use your money. Or if you might ordinarily say, okay, look, here's $1 and go enjoy, and the rest is on you, then hey, then that's you paying for 10%
yeah,
of what they want. So you want to try and train them to pay for what
yeah.
they want. So real life, how that we've used that in our house is last year Grace wanted the most stylish sneakers, right? And so if you're a sneakerhead, you can go anywhere from $100 to
Yeah.
$1,000 for a pair of sneakers. What all the kids were wearing, and I wanted her to feel included. I didn't want her to wear the off brand and be made fun of or anything like that. But they were expensive. It was $100 for a pair of, it was the all white Nike. I think they were the Nike flights. And I was like, so this is what everybody's wearing. She's like, yeah, totally. And I was like, okay, this is our baseline. But she found these super cool Air Jordans. It was like, special design, black with gold stripe. And those were like 140. And I said, okay, I'll give you a choice. I was like, I am all in for the $100 sneakers, because I want you to fit in. You have to pay the overage. If you want the super high profile extra design, that's you need sneakers, but you want the special Air Jordans.
Yeah.
That's on you. And she did it.
That's how
And
we
she
do it
loved
too.
And it made a massive difference. And she really appreciated the
That's
sneakers
awesome.
and loved them, and and all of that.
Took care of them probably because she paid the extra, the extra amount there. I consciously understand the principles. I think we've been challenged more than I expected, thinking about that on a moment to moment, day to day basis. So that's something that we got to work on.
Julie, how many months do you think it took until it became more second nature than not?
I mean, I think I relate it to compounding interest, right? Like it's a little bit the first month, a little more the second month, a little more the third month, where now the wins I'm seeing are compounded that much bigger. They're like a day like yesterday just blew me away. I mean, it was amazing. But, last month we weren't there. So I think every month that you keep going, you'll see bigger and bigger and bigger wins and milestones.
Consistency.
So yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing a little bit right now, and that's awesome. But I would say the more you stick to your consistent conversations and your energy around it, and like being really transparent, or even talking to your kids, like, hey, I'm having a struggle with this right now. Can we like figure this out together? Right? You want the $100 and $140 shoes, and
Yeah.
I can pay $100. How should we come together? And like really including them, in the conversation, and your wife as well. And I think you'll start to see those moments of understanding and enlightenment become
cool.
bigger and bigger moments.
Agreed.
In my house, my husband and I, we also still deal with some challenges of misalignment of like what we see as the allowance going towards or being about. And he's from the Midwest, and he says, well, it should be about chores. They should be earning that allowance. And I'm saying, no, they should be doing chores because that's what you do in a family. And the money is to teach them how to spend money. And so we constantly kind of have to recalibrate and realign with our own, backgrounds and values, and what our why is. So I think that conversation with Carla ongoing is really important too, to make sure you two are aligned.
Yep. It made me think of, I had a conversation with Ashley, my wife, before the holidays, I think last year. She started getting into the, I want to buy this and I want to buy that and I want to buy that. And I, naturally, right, this is more my gig, and, and teaching them about money. It's like, well, what about this? Do they really need that? Do they want that? And she looked at me, she goes, no. It's like, listen, she said, 11 months out of the year, like, I'm not spoiling them. And I get it. And this is important. Like, we need to do this. This is for all the reasons that you believe that this is right. It's like, but come the holidays, I want to spoil them. That is my time to spoil them. And there's nothing you're going to do about that's going to spoil them. I was like, you know what? Hell yeah, you're right. That's it. Totally done.
Consistency with flexibility.
Yeah. I mean, and we have a very, very, we are partners truly in life, or joint decisions and all that. But it was like, that made absolute total sense. I get it. So even though it's like, okay, you want them to handle all their wants, like, hey, there are times it was like, if I went on a road trip, but by myself, I was in Gainesville, and I came back, I bought them t-shirts, because daddy went out of town, and that was a nice memory for me when my parents would go out of town. So those things happen.
Right.
But when, now that your antenna is up, when you're out together, just try and keep that either 90% of the wants are on them, in a general setting.
Yeah. And Robbie, it's really cool too when they get used to your, cadence of allowance, and they really do understand the value of $1 and what $20 is. You might just hand them $20 randomly, like, oh, you're going out with your friend. Here's a $20 bill.
Yeah.
And it's like,
the appreciation
wow,
level.
thank
right,
you, Daddy.
It's cool.
And before they just kind of expected it, or didn't really realize what $20 meant. And so when you do give it as a gift, it's just so much more impactful once you really get into the sense of responsibility kind of methodology month after month. It's really remarkable.
True.